pig.
Yeah.
So no worries.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Founders and CEO series. This is a series of Tech Elevate talks between founders and CEO of innovative tech companies in the UK and beyond. And this discussion today is going to be focused on blood, sweat, and resilience. And obviously, this is very important because this is a discussion looking at how founders have successfully navigated, you know, tough times as well as blood, sweat, but also resilience in making sure that their companies succeed, but also making sure that the company keep going. And I'm joined today by none other than the CEO of a very innovative tech company in London, based in Canary Wharf, and we're also delighted to say that this is a founder that has experienced the same blood, sweat, and tears, and almost at the verge of giving up. But today, they have become one of the most established company in the UK, and I'm delighted to be joined by none other than the great Igor Tesinsky, who is the CEO and founder of Intellibonds. Intellibonds, of course, is a startup that deals with bones in the AI, using AI to grow more opportunities for the bond market. And also, it has been established with a lot of funding raised, but also a lot of backers from the UAE in Dubai.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir. It's good to have you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Good. So, for the benefit of our community, I think it would be great to start by um, sharing a bit about you, so that the community will know more a little bit about you.
Sure. So my background is in investment management and investment banking. And after 15, 16 years, I got bored in my job and realized that maybe there is something else I want to do with my career. And because I have been involved in investment management space, more specifically in the fixed income market, I had a good understanding of it. And there were some areas of a business which I thought were inefficient, and one thing led to another, and Intellibonds was incorporated, and ever since we have been building the business.
Fantastic. Yeah. Ever since, of course, I've followed some of that experiences in the past, and I think this is also very critical in the sense that there are a lot of journeys to making Intellibond what it is today. But can you describe to our community in terms of the initial stage or stages of setting up Intellibonds, including the difficulties you face?
Okay. Well, the incorporation of a company is not necessarily that much of a hassle. You just file the form and you create a company. The problem is how you turn idea or a concept into a business with a entity being in existence. And it was quite difficult for us because we are in the B2B space. So to build something to the enterprise level quality, it takes a lot of time and effort. And it's even more difficult when all the data sets you want to train our algorithms are proprietary. So I think from our perspective, when we incorporated business back in October 2018, it took us almost a year to secure data. As I said, the data was private, so we couldn't really, get our hands on it, and whoever was offering the data was charging a lot of money for it. So effectively, I was begging for the data for about a year across various channels and network people I had, and had one or two moments when I was thinking like, oh, probably we should shut down the company because it's not gonna take off without any data. But then got a lucky break. A neighbor of mine in St. Albans, I knew the chief executive officer of IHS Market, which is the fixed income pricing data provider. And I was kind of so desperate that I thought like, okay, if you can share the email of this guy who is running 40 billion company, I'm just gonna message him, and maybe, just maybe, he's gonna, help me out.
Yeah.
And because IHS Market was incorporated in St. Albans back in 90s, I kind of, had an entrepreneur to entrepreneur type of email sent to him saying like, I'm in a difficult situation. The business is not going anywhere. I need help. I don't have money to pay for the data. Can you help me out? And rightly or wrongly, 10 minutes after I sent that email, he replied saying to me, speak to these guys in New York. They're going to sort you out with respect to data. And that's how
Wow.
Intellibonds started.
Interesting. That's like taking the bull by the horns. That's amazing. And this is the story that's sort of inspiring to say that 1 year you're just about to shut down, and suddenly all of that hard work and preparation and challenges starting to sort of come together in this way that with just a click of an email, somehow you got that big break coming through. So did you, yeah, I mean, what's this kind of resilience within you that fell for good 1 year? Some people don't even, you know, stay for up to 3 months, 4 months, and they kind of pack off anyway and decide to say, this is it, I'm giving up because nothing is probably working at the moment. I've done everything, but nothing is working. But you had to keep going in the whole 1 year. How did you manage to keep going despite facing all of the obstacle and perhaps maybe some rejection from top institutional investors
Uh,
or even
well,
data? I mean, from data, starting from data, because obviously
yeah.
you started looking for data first, isn't it?
Yeah, before you have a product and before you can do anything, yeah,
Yeah,
you need the data.
yeah.
I think for me, I knew that there is sort of once in a lifetime opportunity probably for me to turn the business around because if I were not to do it at that time and I went back to the corporate job, most likely I would never again start a venture and you know might be 80 years old and then regretting that I haven't done something which
Yeah.
I could have. So that was one of the reasons why I kept going. And the other reason was there were like a lot of people in my network who were kind of encouraging me. So you get the founder to founder support and saying like, look, you have something which is good, but it's super hard to get your foot into the door.
Mm,
And you have been doing something like that for 9 months now. We know that it's not working out the way you expected, but that's the reality of life. When you're building a new business, there are no guarantees, and as such, you have to keep going. And eventually, a lot of hard work and a bit of luck may lead to the outcome, and that's exactly what happened first time around in that instance. But these were kind of like my two things, one, lifetime kind of opportunity potential to do something, and if I don't do it now, I may not do it later at all. And two, the network of people around me that kind of support you when you are on the journey like this.
mm. And is it because the proposition is not sort of believable, or people just think that, well, we're not familiar with this sector yet in terms of moving it into a different level because you want to step it up in terms of what is existing currently.
Yeah.
And so probably the market is not familiar with it or not ready, or people are not sort of believing that this is sort of the right thing to do in a way. Is that the reason why, or what's your kind of feeling around that?
No, I think it's a fair assessment. Whenever you're trying to build a new business,
Mm,
there is a lot of disbelief. There is a lot of people kind of saying, "Oh, but there are solutions in the market which do things." But we all heard about the Chat GPT. I mean, before that, for every language task, you have to have one separate algo or one separate AI
mm,
model created. Nowadays, you have Chat GPT, and it deals with many languages, many problems, many tasks, etc. So it was similar for us at the time. Like there was very little belief that it can be done. It was very little belief that it can be done with no budget and no access to data,
mm.
which, as I learned, was very valid, big obstacle to deal
Yeah,
with.
yeah.
Uh, but you always have that. Like no business just happens overnight, and suddenly everything is working out properly, especially in the B2B space. I mean, if you are in the B2C, and you're just selling something for £5 or for £2, chances are that you're okay after 6 months and you're generating some revenue, etc. In the
Yeah.
B2B space, you can be developing software for a year or two before you generate any revenue. So it's very
Yeah.
different.
That's definitely true. Now, let's look at your. I'm sure you must have had late nights, probably scratching your head, thinking about all this stuff. Emotions running, euphoria, and all that stuff accompany your kind of journey during that time. How did you navigate these intense experiences?
Well, sometimes okay, sometimes not so good.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of late nights,
Mm,
and you work all day long, and then you have a strategic meeting with either your advisors or your partner at around midnight, and then if you have some engagement with clients or prospects in Asia, then you typing the emails just around 1 a.m. because it's morning in Hong Kong, etc. So you always do find yourself in those situations, and the reasons why or how I handled those situations was again network of people around me who supported me. So my wife and my kids obviously are a big part of entrepreneur life story, and
yeah.
whenever I was just overwhelmed by the work. They just said
Mm,
like, "Okay, Daddy, this is your room. We just shut the door and we, play, stay quiet, etc." And you try to get the job done. So that's was one bit, and then the other bit, there is a lot of advisors in my network who been through various businesses in their careers and who kind of said like, "Look, these late nights, they are part of life story of business, and you just have to get ready for it. And the only way you kind of keep going, for 12, 14 hours a day, is that the business is not just a job, the business is a hobby, and to some extent it becomes obsession,
mm,
and you just kind of keep going
mm.
regardless of whatever else is happening out there.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned you mentioned family there because a lot of the times families don't get credit for being a part of a journey of a founder's life. And you mentioned how family has been important in terms of helping you get through all of that. It's very supportive time. And obviously, what what would you? I mean, how would you say to other people who actually kind of think that the family cycle is so important when you're doing business? You forget about all of that and focus on business completely, 100% without family. You think that there's something missing in that place? That's probably there should be a balance.
I mean, I don't think they have achieved balance yet. Work-life balance in the entrepreneur world doesn't exist. That said, uh, having someone to talk to, having someone to take you away from business
Mm, mm.
into day-to-day family life
Yeah,
is
yeah,
important, because you don't want to get consumed by what you do, and I think family is, or your close friends, if you're not having a family, uh, is that important piece of a puzzle which keeps you present, and also kind of not just looking at the business only,
mm,
but also makes you aware what's going on in the world elsewhere and what are the other things, and that kind of self-reflection moment which you get from these type of interactions, I think are super important, because otherwise you can easily get really consumed by the job you do.
yeah, yeah. No, that's very true. I wanted to sort of ask this one more question on your kind of on the sort of challenges you face and maintaining this strong vision on this on your business and staying true to your dreams, because I know it's very hard sometimes when you go through all these challenges. It's very hard to stick to your dream and be focused And I think a lot of people have, I've seen who have struggled with that most times. And I wanted to find out from you in terms of what are the approaches that you use, to stay in focus over your long-term vision and resisting any external pressure to kind of deviate from it. Maybe some people will think, oh, Igor, I mean, don't you think you should be looking at something else? When you said earlier about going back to to the job, all this sort of thing coming to you, those are pressures, but you probably have a strategy which you said, this is my strategy, this is the way I approach this, and resist every aspect of distraction around it.
Well, I obviously had my expectations early on, and whenever you make a decision, you have some sort of agenda in place and some strategy in place. The way you want to do the business, the way you want to implement, grow the business, etc. You need to have some sort of savings as well, because obviously you need to support your family. And normally, first year or two, you can't really expect the salary in your business. As I said, if you are B2B, if you are B2C, it's fine. Most likely 6 months in and you can get paid, but in the B2B, unlikely. So I had these type of basic building blocks in place. But then when the business started, I think 18 months into the journey, I kind of realized that it's going to be so many obstacles on the way to build a business that whatever strategically I thought would be the journey is probably completely wrong. And you have to redo your expectations. And as I said, the first year we were just begging for the data. Okay, great. We got the data. We finally going to build something. Well, then COVID hit, and I was like, oh, okay, how are we going to get the funding now? I cannot really support the business forever. Then we somehow managed to raise the funding through a combination of crowdfunding and private investors, and I got lucky because one of the friends of mine introduced me to the Qatari Sheikh, who was a significant investor in our initial round. Then, because of the COVID and was lasting for so long, it was very hard to sell because our product is a B2B and it's normally relationship driven. So you have to show your face and you have to shake their hands, etc. And it was a fair bit of a struggle, and until we onboarded strategic partners, and until we got the product to the stage where it was really enterprise ready. It took us another maybe 6 months or so before that happened. Then later on, my co-founder decided to leave because he lost that belief in the business, which sometimes happen because when the journey is difficult and you have your personal life as well and challenges, you have to sometimes do something different. So that happened. That was also quite challenging, but these things are unfortunately not something you would expect to happen, and you don't necessarily believe that all of these things happen to a single business, but they normally do. All you have to do in those instances is just look forward and see whether there is a light in the end of the tunnel for your business. And if you do have some external signs which suggest that that's the case, then it's all about your resilience and your willingness to keep going. And nobody is there forever willing to do that. So, we have to be conscious of that. And very few people last for that long. But if you are in the situation when you are last man standing, the chances are that you are already winning because there is nobody else with the journey you've been through. And as such, likelihood of success for your business is much greater than whoever has just decided to set up a new business 6 months ago.
Yeah, that's a fascinating one because I think I was just going to ask you about your co-founder and that's it, but you mentioned it, so I think no need to get into additional detail. So that's great. I wanted to kind of move back to to another direction in AI, for example. Intellibonds was an early adopter of AI platforms, foreseeing the potential of AI before any other competitors. I know you guys started this long time ago when you started thinking about setting up, and so I want to ask you, what advantages do you believe this gives Intellibonds over competitors?
Well, if nothing else, we spent about 3.5 years researching and just developing various algorithms, failing many times, and then
Yeah.
finally finding what works.
Yeah.
So that's type of experience that doesn't come easy. You unfortunately have to do it a hard way, and you just have to fail many times over before you build a product which is viable. And we have many algorithms, anything from simple decision trees all the way down to deep neural network algorithms. And I think now with large NLP models like ChatGPT coming into public or into open AI type of architectures, you are in a position to easily incorporate these new solutions, and you can be part of the next wave of innovation because you have that strong building block in R&D. You understand many of the aspects of those models, and then you have internal algorithms. You can potentially connect them with the external algorithms. And in our instance in particular,
Yeah.
we are part of the OpenAI Microsoft early adopters program. So we can onboard that, combine it with our algorithms, and suddenly what my vision back in 2008 was that you have the digital assistant
Yeah.
solution now is becoming really a reality, because combining what we had historically developed with the GPT-4 suddenly allows you to have super smart analyst or super smart fund manager
Yeah.
working alongside you. And I think that's our main advantage. Just spend 3-4 years on the R&D and just connecting the dots, and then suddenly when these other things, external things, appear, you can
Yeah.
adopt it very quickly because you understand other aspects which are needed in order to create value from using OpenAI's GPT-4 or any type of generative algos.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's true, because I think now that experience you have building I think it's where a competitive advantage compared to what your competitors will be looking at trying to develop. So that's a unique advantages I think it offers from you guys. I wanted to find out from you, I mean, as a pioneer in this field, because you guys have done some innovative work, some great, fantastic job in this market, using technology to make sure that institutional investors, clients, can easily have opportunities to be able to grow their businesses more, and even gain extra benefits. But I want to make sure I kind of ask you this question. Do you now believe that it is essential for other big clients to kind of believe in Intellibonds? Because, I mean, in the past, of course, when you're starting, when you had the vision, it was kind of challenging to kind of have investors, institutional investors, believing in that. But now that you are well established, and you are well ahead of the curve, and now, should investors be looking at you guys and saying, well, let's pick up the phone and give Intellibonds some calls and say, we want to be in your books?
I think to the extent it is already happening, because if you are in the market for a couple of years, suddenly brand recognition is there. From our perspective, also partnering up with SimCorp helped, and integrating our software with their Dimension platform open the doors, because it doesn't happen every day. And just a couple of weeks ago, we spoke with Moody's Analytics, head of buy-side solutions, and we kind of were just showcasing the software to them. And Moody's guys said, like, look, this is great. I mean, we think we should do something together, and we can distribute your product. So you have these type of established institutions telling you that what you have done is worth something, and that normally triggers conversations with institutional investors, and whether it's asset management or insurance or pension funds. Suddenly, you don't have to chase them anymore. Suddenly, they reach out to you, or your partners promote you, and suddenly these conversations are happening, and I am in a position to talk with more and more clients and prospects, and hopefully grow the business. But yeah, it's been a journey to get to this point, and it is just natural for large institutional investors to take time and look only at you after period of couple of years almost, because the underlying assumption for these guys is that 95% of these startups gonna fail, if not more. So why should I spend my time with you in your year one of existence? For B2B market, probably if you are 3 years, you finally have probably something which is worth to look at. And then many will do business with you 4 years in or 5 years in, purely because the maturity of the business wasn't there. And for large institutions, it's a bit of a risk to take on a company like that. They want to make sure that your IP, that your product is ready, that it's crisp, and you can make money out of it. And then often what happens, they just buy your IP, and they grow your business instead of you. But that's the world. And
Well, on that point, actually, I wanted to, yeah, that was the next question I was going to ask you on that point about your IP. But as the next question I was going to ask you was, do you have plans to grow this into a unicorn, to become the next unicorn company, rather than just sort of, getting your IP being bought and said, okay, I'm happy, now I can go and relax and somewhere in a nice beach somewhere and forget about business now in that sense? Or the ambition is we want to build this to a unicorn $1 billion company that at least will be established as one of the drivers of tech companies in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would be lying to you saying that I'm not dreaming about the building the unicorn.
Yes.
Because I am dreaming about it. That said, when I'm just looking at my area of business, and what the valuations of the companies are, and how quickly they can progress, etc., before the founder decides to sell. Valuations tend to be more sort of between 150 million and maybe half a billion before founders sell the business. That said, I personally, when I'm just looking at where we are at, uh, and what else I would like to add to our business, I can see valuation going over that 1 billion, especially now with the GPT-4 and all the other functionalities which we can add and trigger quite quickly. But at the same time, you have to be realistic. And when you look at the averages uh, for exits in our industry, it's somewhere between 150 and 500 million for most of the companies in my market. So this is where I am, and these are my two scenarios. One is potentially 2 to 3 years type of exit, and the another one is maybe 3 to 5 year type of exit, and anything can happen in between. But as I said, you don't focus on valuation so much, and you don't focus on just building the unicorn. You focus on what you do on a day-to-day basis. Make sure that you get that right, or to the best of your abilities. And valuation happens in the background as a result of your day-to-day actions or day-to-day deliverables. And if you get that part right, I think the sky is the limit, and should be my obligation should be my objective to be a unicorn. Well, not really. My objective should be to grow the business and to generate value for the investors and myself. And if I'm lucky enough to be one of those unicorns, well, happy days. If not, still I had a good journey, and I built the business into something and was able to sell it at some price. which is still better than zero. So,
Yeah, yeah. No, the reason I say that was because it's not every day, it's not every company you see has a backing of a sheikh, Dubai sheikh, from Dubai. So if you have that sort of backing, you know that uh, the ambition will be, thinking about, one of the becoming a unicorn in that sense. But I understand in terms of your key critical focus and priorities is sort of to get the company going. But when you have a sheikh, from Dubai as a key backer, definitely I have to ask the question: are you guys on your way to become the
yeah.
next billion dollar company? In the next few years.
I mean, look, my investor is actually from Qatar rather than from Dubai, but
All
he's
right,
Sheikh.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
Sorry. Yeah.
in order to build 1 billion company, 1 billion valuation company,
Mm,
the type of the investment you would have to secure is very significant. For now, we have only raised around 800,000 pounds, so we never been like overspending. It was more of a bootstrapping slash organic growth
yeah.
with some external capital. When you look at uh, most of the startups, the rounds are multi-million before they even sell the product.
Mm.
So
I'm sure you're going to get there by raising millions. So I'm sure the
well,
time is coming.
I'm not rushing into that type of moment, because ultimately, the more money you raise, the more
Yeah.
diluted you are as a founder. So you wanna raise enough money to keep business going and keep growing, but you
Mm,
don't necessarily wanna raise too much, because what's the point of having money in a bank account if you can't really use that money in a wise way to grow
yeah.
your business? I think the money is the fuel of growth.
Mm,
You only need a fuel when you are growing at a certain pace. Otherwise, it's just the burden on your business,
mm,
because the more cash you have, likely you be reckless, you overspend on stuff you don't need, and you just waste the money for no
mm.
reason. So I'm not necessarily strong proponent of just raising money for the sake of saying that I did manage to raise.
Yeah, understand. I mean, so I have a few questions, and then we'll probably can wrap up in a sense. I wanted to now in terms of the yeah, you talked about investment, and are you looking to when is your next stage of fundraising? Do you have any plans to go to the market to look for money?
I
Next.
mean, well, I would say the fundraising is never-ending journey for a founder. You're
Mm,
always fundraising. You have the official rounds in between, unofficial rounds, etc. So, like in our instance, we are talking with the investors as of now. We're gonna do some round, yet don't have a the fixed number in mind. And it also will depend on what's going to happen with respect to some of the clients' discussion and some of the discussions with our partners. But I would say we're gonna do something in the next probably 3 to 4 months. I would say September, October, we potentially gonna bring in a bigger investor. And in the meantime, we will probably onboard some angel investors, etc. And yeah, then decide towards the end of the year based on what is the revenue, how much expenditure we plan for 2024,
mm,
what to do with respect to the round and how much money to raise.
mm. I have to ask you this about getting recruiting employees. How easy or how hard is it to get skilled people in the job to be able to do the job that you want to advance the company?
Uh, well, I think luckily we're still a small company, so we don't have that many employees. But we'll find the right talent is not easy.
Mm,
That said, we have people who are very close to universities, whether it's UCL or Cambridge, etc. So that's our fishing pool. We regularly onboard interns for summer, and then normally the best interns we have we hire. And then outside of that, for senior hires, um, often you cannot afford to hire those people. So what we did do on our end was to develop advisory model where we connect with the people who spend with us maybe 2 hours to one day, etc., in a particular meetings, and source that skill set on an ad hoc basis and whenever it's needed in order to move business forward. And it hasn't been easy. I think some of those some, some of those people came only as the business was more mature.
Mm.
So you have to always keep knocking on the doors. You always have to ask people to introduce you, etc., etc. And you kiss thousands of frogs, and then you find a princess, and then
Mm.
things do happen. So it's not the easy process, but yeah, the working with universities for early stage hires is good, and then having your network of senior advisors who you either get introduced through your industry connections or through your clients is another way of how we source talent.
Do you sometimes look outside the UK? Say,
I mean, we have operations in India, so
right.
yes, clearly yes, we do, because obviously UK research is quite expensive, and I'm not sort of country specific. What I do care is whether you can get a job done, and you know our employee can be in any place. And we have a, obviously office in One Canada Square in Canary Wharf. That said, if we do spend 10-15 hours in the office per week, that's most. People work from many different places.
Yeah.
And I don't really care insofar works get done. So
Mm. That's a good model. I mean, I thought that's most similar to the model of Netflix in a way that I read the book from Netflix. They don't actually sort of care where the employees work, but I think they just feel that as long as you do the job, that's most important. Now, I wanted to ask you perhaps finally, to say, for the benefit of our community, um, yeah, I mean, building a successful business like Intellibonds require a lot of determination and resilience, which you've done, hard work, sleepless nights, and sacrifices and all of that stuff, which you have done. I wanted to sort of, if you're going to encourage a young founder today who are just thinking about, starting up a venture, or those who are already started, but they're in the first, second, third months of their journey, or maybe they're close to a year and things are not sort of working the way they expected. What would you say to them to keep them going, to believe in the vision, to make sure that they shouldn't give up? The opportunity may just be there by not giving up, but just keep going. What would you advise to the young upcoming founder? Well, it doesn't have to be young coming, the new, let's say new, because there are some people who who may not be young, but obviously
can
looking
found the
to
business,
start.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I don't think that there is one advice that fits everybody. What I would say is, if you do struggle, speak to your network, speak to your friends, speak to potential clients, and see whether there is value in the product and whether there is reason you should be keep going. Because sometimes it's important to stop and just go elsewhere and just do something different.
Hmm.
Because it's not always pursuing something leads to the outcome that you want. That said, if you see some sort of external signs which suggest that yes, you may be close enough to delivering a breakthrough in a particular market segment, then you should keep going, and just wait for that moment to happen. It will eventually, but it doesn't mean that it must happen next 6 months. Whenever you set the deadline and the probability of the deadline being missed is probably 95% plus.
Yeah.
Simply because it's just so unpredictable. And since our business started, we had COVID, we had Brexit, we had government in the UK failing, LDI crisis,
Yeah. Yeah.
inflation is over the roof now. Like so many things which I couldn't even dream of would happen
Yeah.
over that period of time.
Yeah.
So, you just keep going and just observe the external indicators, not your personal view, but try to observe the external indicators and try to be true to yourself, whether there is a reason why you should be going forward or whether you should do something different. And if you have that perseverance and you put a lot of hard work, things should happen for you.
I think on that point, I can resonate with that because I've had few deadlines, like 1 or 2 deadlines to say, look, this product is going to get to the market, and then when we get there, then we see another roadblock. Then suddenly we know that it's never going to happen on this deadline. So we change the deadline again to review it to another deadline in that sense. But anyway, that's great. So having said that, and finally, I wanted to ask you 2 questions before we go. And this is just about how do you relax? How do you relax with your time off work, or probably in terms of getting that season for yourself to refresh, and then the second question following that is how do you keep fit and maintain your sort of mental focus in terms of getting to the crux of the matter?
Sure. So, well, relax. It's a nice word. I mean, I don't do much of that, but whenever I have a spare time, I'm normally with my kids, and we either cycle or do some hikes and just walk to the forest or parks, etc., etc. Luckily, where I live, there is plenty of opportunities to explore. So that's when I really have a time to relax. But as I said, it's really rare, and I also enjoy sleep. There is very little sleep through the week, so sometimes if kids don't wake me up, I end up sleeping on Saturday up until maybe 10:30. This is just kind of rare occurrence because normally I just work up until midnight or 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and then I'll take the kids to school at 7:30 or 8 o'clock. So you don't have much of a sleep through the week. So yeah, this is my kind of relaxed moment when I get actually 9 hours of sleep on Saturday.
Which is
So
good
yeah, so
because it's
that
kind
that
of recovery moment for all the hours you have had no sleep for.
yeah, you haven't had the time to sleep properly through the week. So yeah, the Saturday I normally try to catch up on sleep. And in terms of keeping myself fit, um, I try to eat healthy. So I don't eat any processed food. I don't eat any sugar unless it's naturally occurring as part of fruit or vegetable, etc. And I barely drink as well, and I do a lot of yoga to keep muscle flexibility, etc. Be able to stretch and feel healthy in your body effectively. So this is what I tend to do, and so far so good. Haven't been obese, as many founders unfortunately do,
Yeah.
because you eat a lot of junk food while you're working. So I was fortunate that my other half, she likes to cook, and she cooks healthy, and then we both kind of agreed that
Yeah.
when it comes to nutrition, we do believe in healthy food, not in the processed food, and that's what we want to do long term.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much. Because I have one quick fire question for you on that junk food. But now that you mentioned that you don't you do eat healthy, I thought maybe I should withdraw the question away. But if you like to hear what the question was going to be on the quick fire, I can say that's just one question. I was going to ask initially whether KFC or McDonald's? Which one would you prefer? But
None
none.
would be the answer. None. No, I
Yeah.
don't. I mean, last time I've been to McDonald's or KFC was at least a decade ago now.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Don't you- You're missing out.
Well, I don't feel like I'm missing out, but everybody's personal choice, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Igor, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time
Happy
and
to be
taking the
here.
time to join. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your experiences, your journey. And I think this will be very helpful for our community, and it will be inspiring as well for them in terms of starting their journey and all the challenges they will face. And this is sort of going to inspire them to say, I'm never going to give up. Even though I go through all this blood, sweat, I have to keep the resilience to make sure that I make the success story happen. So thank you so much for sharing this with us. And I wish you a happy and a great weekend. And hopefully maybe you can get to sleep for more hours this weekend.
All right. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
the opportunity. Speak soon. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye now. Cheers. Thank you so much. Cheers. Yeah.